to give us a special Dharma teaching about the Buddhism in this country. As per the video, we have many great masters. One of them is the great master Atisa Dipankara. So Venerable will cover the history of the Tantric and Mahayana Buddhism in his teaching later.
以下是有关法师的简介。Dr. Ganapuri 法师在孟加拉国吉大港的一个传统佛教家庭出生并长大。法师从很小时候起就跟随附近乡村寺庙的僧侣那里接受了佛教教育。1994年，法师在 Sonachari Rajbihar 寺出家为沙弥。1996年进入凯达波比库培训与禅修中心，在那里修持了大约6年，以做好受持比丘戒的准备。2002年，法师接受具足戒，在出家8年的时间里，连同早期在寺院的修持，法师完成了学习经典的课程，并获得了证书。2003年，法师离开孟加拉到国外继续进修佛学。从2004年到2019年，法师完成了多项佛学研究的高等教育。首先，在泰国沙道国际佛教大学获得了文学荣誉学士，主修宗教研究。在斯里兰卡佩拉德尼亚大学攻读硕士学位，主修佛教研究1年，并以同样的主修课题获得香港大学硕士学位和泰国马西隆大学博士学位。法师其他研究方面的探讨包括巴利文学、上座部佛教和早期佛教哲学。法师目前在泰国沙道国际佛教大学担任讲师。
Okay, so below is the short biography of Venerable. I think I will just skip because Sister Leon already go through and is already translated in English. I think everyone is very eager to learn more about Buddhism in Bangladesh. So we will pass the Zoom room to you, Venerable.
Okay, thank you very much, sister, and also brother Anglo. And good evening and Omitofo to everyone. Thank you very much to the organizing committee for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share a little bit of information about the Buddhism in Bangladesh, especially the past history. So I will be just focusing on the Tantric and Mahayana Buddhism in the past that existed. But now, of course, we have the Theravada form of Buddhism. But I'm sure that from the video clip that was played a little while ago, the audience may have some idea about the past history of Buddhism in Bangladesh. So that was basically part of it, and there have been many temples and many great masters in the past that have contributed enormously in the field of Buddhism. Can I share my screen, my slides?
Yeah, can just share.
Okay, so I will be showing some of the pictures, and I'll be giving you some information with regard to the past Buddhist history of Bengal. So this is the topic that I'm going to cover today very quickly. So first of all, some basic information about the country Bangladesh. As you can see on the screen in white, so this represents Bangladesh. Now it is called Bangladesh now, but it was having so many different names previously. One of the most popular name was Banga. It seems like this word Banga, referring to Bangladesh, has been used since the time of the Buddha. And as you can see, geographically, it is bordered on 3 sides by India and on the one side Myanmar, and on the other side is the Bay of Bengal, the ocean. Since the Islamic invasion in the 13th century Common Era, Bangladesh has become an Islamic country. So now about 0.6% of the total population is Buddhist. Most of them live in Chittagong and Chittagong Hill district. The present day Buddhism in Bangladesh is just about 150 years old, so it is quite new. But Buddhism prevailed in the country since the Buddha's time. The Pala dynasty, especially, that is from 8th to 12th century Common Era, was said to be the golden period for Buddhism. So when we say Buddhist people mostly living in Chittagong and Chittagong Hill area, that is this part close to Myanmar, if you can see on the screen. So there is Chittagong, and there is close to Chittagong, there are 3 other districts. Now, if you look at the history of Buddhism in Bangladesh, we can find that it can be understood in terms of 3 main periods. Firstly, from 3rd century BC, that is during the time of King Asoka, till 5th or 6th century Common Era. And then secondly, from 6th or 7th century Common Era to 12th century Common Era. And thirdly, from 19th century till now. But from 12th until 19th century is considered as a dark period for Buddhism. So there is not so much of discussion that can be found with regard to Buddhist history. Now, during the 6th century BC, it was probably part of Magadhan kingdom, and because of it being geographically close to the Magadha, it is believed that Buddha might have visited Bengal. So when we talk about Magadha, Magadha was one of the places where the Buddha stayed most of his time, and that is very close to Bengal. So that is why there is this idea that Buddha might have visited Bengal even, that is Bangladesh. Asoka came into throne, became supreme monarch of the greater India, and under his rule, Buddhism spread to all over India and beyond. He erected a number of rock edicts containing messages of the Buddha. So when the Asoka came into throne, this is the entire part, the greater India, that he has been ruling, and he has been spreading the message of the Buddha throughout the country. This is a picture of Emperor Asoka with his chariot. Now, these are some of the pictures showing the ruins of the great viharas or great monasteries and universities that were built in the time of Pala dynasty, especially. This picture represent edicts of Asoka. So this represent the messages of the Buddha contained within this edicts. Now, Gupta Empire or Gupta dynasty is a dynasty that is preceding Pala dynasty, before Pala dynasty. So it lasted for about 200 years. During this period also, Buddhism was quite strong, not all over India, but some part of India. And these images, these pictures show that, in the places where Buddhism was strong, they have produced this type of images for paying homage and for respect. And then the Pala Empire or Pala dynasty that lasted for about 400 years, that is from 8th century until 12th century CE. So as I said previously, this is considered as a golden period for Buddhism, because it is in this period that a number of great Buddhist Mahaviharas and universities have been built. A lot of great Buddhist masters were produced. So during the Pala dynasty, Buddhism was the predominant religious force, especially in the northeastern India. It was the Mahayana and Tantric form of Buddhism that was prevalent at this period. The Pala kings were so devoted to Buddhism that they have built a number of large monasteries and centers for Buddhist studies. They had also supported Hinduism and established many Shiva and Vaishnava temples. I think there is trouble with internet connection. Am I audible now?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. Okay. So these are some of the, these pictures represent some of the temples that were built during the Pala dynasty. The Pala kings built about 50 Buddhist temples and learning centers, of which it is said that 35 were centers for learning Prajnaparamita literature, Prajnaparamita text, perfection of wisdom text. But apart from only Buddhist text, other secular subjects such as medicine, political science, arts and crafts, fine arts, architectures were also being taught. So this is one of the vihara that we have visited 2 years back. This is called Sompura Vihara. Now this is situated in Nauga district. It was built by the king Dhammapala. The length and breadth of the temple is 922 feet from south to north and 919 feet from east to west. It has got a total of 177 rooms for the residents to live, study, and practice their religious life. It is said that the great masters like Advaya Vajra, Atulya Pada, and Atisha stayed in this monastery and taught and composed many Buddhist texts. Now, if you look at the structure of these temples, you would find that most of the viharas were built in the shape of a mandala. Now, this picture on the left represent mandala. This is a mandala that is in the Vajrayana tradition normally we see. And these temples in this period in the Pala dynasty were built following this mandala style. Now here I'm going to show you some other pictures. The picture on the right is it is the Angkor Wat of Cambodia, the very famous temple. It is also built following the mandala style, and on the picture left side shows that during the 7th and 8th century, the Shalban Vihara, Somapura Vihara, and then even this Borobudur in Indonesia, and finally Angkor Wat, all are built between 8th to 12th century BC, and all are built following this mandala style. Now this is another vihara, another Bhavadeva in the 8th century Common Era, following the 7th century Somapura Vihara style in Paharpur. It was a large square monastery of 550-foot sides with 115 monastic cells, a dominant central shrine, and a number of subsidiary shrines. It was functional until 12th century CE. At the birthplace of Atisha, this is one of the 30 viharas built by Emperor Dhammapala during his regime, that is 820 Common Era, as the second emperor of the Pala Empire. During the time of Atisha, this region was the center of Buddhist education, and some 8,000 students and professors came to study at Bikrampur from as far as China, Tibet, and Nepal. So all these were important centers for Buddhist studies. Now we also find that in this period, there have been produced a lot of Buddha images of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Among them, the most famous ones were this Vairochana, Akshobhya, Ratnasambhava, Amitabha, and Amoga Siddhi. And among the Bodhisattvas, for example, Avalokiteshvara and Manjushri, these were most famous Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in this period. Several great masters were produced, and they have contributed enormously, especially in the field of Tantric Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism. And when we talk about Mahayana Buddhism, especially in the field of Madhyamika and Yogacara form of Buddhism. These are some of the great masters. For example, this Shilabhadra and Acharya Shantarakshita, Acharya Atisha, and these two are Tantric masters, Tilopa and Naropa. So these are among many great Buddhist masters. This is a drawing of Pandit Shilabhadra, belonging to 7th century Common Era. He was specifically from the Samatata area of Bengal, and he contributed enormously in the field of Yogacara Buddhist studies. That is a branch of Mahayana Buddhist tradition. He was born in a royal family, studied in the famous Nalanda University, and at the age of 30, he became a well-known debater. Later, he became the abbot of the Nalanda Mahavihara. And it is said that he was one of the teachers of Master Xuanzang. At the age of 33, Master Xuanzang made a dangerous journey to India in order to study Buddhism there. He spent over 10 years in India, traveling and studying under various Buddhist masters. And this Shilabhadra, the abbot of Nalanda Monastery, was one of them. And it is said that he was, by that time, 106 years old. So this is from the record of Master Xuanzang. The second most famous master is Acharya Shantarakshita, belonging to 8th century Common Era. Shantarakshita was born in a royal family in Gauda, present-day Sabar, Dhaka. Dhaka is the capital city of Bangladesh now. He was an influential scholar and practitioner of the Madhyamika school. In his early life, he studied at the Nalanda University under Jnanagarbha, and later, mastering all branches of knowledge, he became the head of the same university. He has composed at least 11 books on Madhyamika philosophy and Tantric Buddhism. He is well known not only because of his contributions in the field of scholastic study of Buddhism, but also because he was the first monk who, together with Padmasambhava or Guru Rinpoche from India, established the first Buddhist monastery in Tibet called Samya Monastery. So he was invited by the then Tibetan king Trisong Detsen. He is considered as one of the main teachers for Nyingma lineage in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. And one of his direct disciples is the famous Kamalashila, Acharya Kamalashila. This is the monastery that was built. I think this is just the modern shape, but in the beginning it was not, of course, like that. And this picture on the left shows Guru Rinpoche or Padmasambhava, and the picture on the right is Kamalashila. And Atisha, belonging to 10th century Common Era, seems to be the most important and most famous figure of Buddhist studies. He was a prince who was born of Kalyanashri and Pravavati Devi in Vajrajugini village, Bikrampura. His childhood name was Chandragarbha. He studied Buddhism and the Buddhist scriptures under Jayatari, a Buddhist scholar of that time. Subsequently, renouncing home life, he traveled all around India, Indian subcontinent, and beyond, in search of knowledge on proper Buddhist studies. In 1011 AD, along with more than 100 disciples, he went to Suvarnadvipa and became a disciple of Acharya Dharmakirti, under whom he studied the various branches of Buddhism for 12 years. He then returned to Magadha, where he met great Buddhist masters who all acknowledged his superior knowledge and scholarship. As a note, I must add that this Suvarnadvipa sometimes referred to as present-day Malaysia, and sometimes, of course, it refers to Indonesia as well. So seems like there is a bit of confusion with regard to this place. And this was one of the most famous master at that time, under whose guidance Atisha got his training in Buddhist studies. Gradually, Atisha became renowned as a scholar. The Pala king Mahipala appointed him Chancellor of Vikramashila Mahavihara in Bhagalpur, Bihar, that is in India. In addition to his duties here, Dipankara was professor and chancellor for 15 years of Odantapuri and Somapura Vihara. It is believed that during his stay at Somapura Mahavihara, he translated text on Madhyamaka. So this picture shows Odantapuri University or Odantapuri Mahavihara, and the other picture shows Somapura Vihara. The Buddhist king of Tibet, Lah Lama Yoshiwot, invited Dipankara to Tibet to spread the message of Buddha. After the demise of King La Lama, his nephew Chongchup Janaprava became the king of Tibet. He renewed the invitation made earlier. This time Dipankara accepted the offer and, accompanied by a few distinguished scholars, commenced his journey to Tibet in around 1040 AD. Dipankara reformed Buddhism according to Mahayana system and established the Buddhist Kadampa or Kadam sect. His direct student was Dromton. This picture on the right is a picture of is a drawing of Dromton. Tibetans revere him, granting him a rank second only to Gautama Buddha, and refer to him as Jobo Chenpo, a great lord. Dipankara wrote, translated, and edited more than 200 books, helped spread Buddhism in Tibet. One of his famous texts is called Bodhipata Pradipa, based on which Lamrim teaching was developed. And Dipankara died at the age of 73 in Tibet. So now I will be talking very briefly about two Tantric masters. Tilopa is one of them, belonging to 10th and 11th century Common Era. So he was a great Tantric master, also known as Tilaka or Tilopada. He was born in Chittagong, Bangladesh. He was a Mahasiddha, a great practitioner, an expert practitioner of specifically Anuttara Yoga Tantra, leading to the attainment of Buddhahood. He was also a practitioner of Mahamudra Tantra and is regarded a pioneer of the Tantric tradition. His important student was Naropa. Being inspired by a Dakini, Dakini here means a female Buddha whose activity is to inspire practitioners. At the very early age, Tilopa became interested in spiritual life. He traveled throughout India in search of teachings. He is considered to be the first Tantric teacher of the Kagyu lineage of Vajrayana Buddhism. Now, this is Naropa, a student of Tilopa, belonging to 11th century CE. He is also a Mahasiddha, and he was known as Naropada and also Nadapada and sometimes Abhayakirti. He was born in a Brahmin family in Bengal. He was contemporary to Atisha. He got married quite early age, but later at the age of 28, he left home and joined the famous Nalanda University in modern-day Bihar. After learning sutras and tantras, he became a great scholar and debater. He encountered with a Dakini who led him to Tilopa. He overcame 12 hardships and spent 12 years with Tilopa for instructions, and later on he became an expert in different types of tantra. But Naropa is well known for his 6-point yoga especially, and also Mahamudra tantra practices. He was a teacher of the great Tibetan tantric master Marpa, who was in turn a teacher of the great saint Milarepa. So these are considered as Mahasiddhas, great practitioners in the Tibetan tantric tradition. So there is a list of 84 great practitioners. So these masters, Tilopa, Naropa, Marpa, and Milarepa, they come in this list, and it seems like there is a particular tradition of tantric practices, that they have been they have carried out. The picture on the left is the picture of Marpa, and the picture on the right is a picture of Milarepa. So as the final remark, I should say that Pala dynasty especially was a glorious time for Buddhism in Bengal and also all over India. And these great masters that I have been talking about just now have contributed enormously for the Buddhist studies and practices. We owe greatly to them. We pay our sincere respect to these great Bodhisattvas. Thank you everyone for your attention, and a big thank to Sister Gaikian, Brother Englu, and everyone involved in organizing this event. Thank you very much. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
感恩 Dr. Ganapati 法师的开示，让我们对孟加拉的佛教有所认识。
Thank you, Venerable, for the special Dharma teaching. It has definitely given us a good understanding on the movement of Buddhism in Bangladesh.
OK， 好，现在请大家分享您刚才听闻的这一场开示后的一些心灵收获。我们请护持 Zoom Whiteboard 的师兄打开 Whiteboard， 大家可以在 Whiteboard 的上面进行分享您的心灵收获。大家可以到荧幕上找那个 View Options，View Options 点下去，大家会看到 Annotate 的字。那么 Annotate 的字再点下去，然后您就会看到一堆的工具让您使用，好像 Stem 啦、Text 啦 and Draw。大家可以在 Whiteboard 上找空位，把您所听到的心得写出来、画出来，或者给法师一个爱心啊、星星啊。好，我们给大家5分钟的时间，在 Whiteboard 上写下你的心灵收获。大家先请吴师兄先解释一下。
Okay, after watching the short video clip and listening to the Dharma teaching by Venerable, I think all of us has a lot of feeling and understanding or things that we want to write, or a thank you note to Venerable, because it's very rare to have IBC lecture to online with us and give us a Dharma teaching. So here, this is the whiteboard. You can enable your annotate just at your Zoom window at the top there. You have to make it a full screen. So you just click your view option, select the annotate, then you can start to write in the whiteboard. At the same time, we also welcome for any Q&A after listening to Venerable teaching. If you have any question about Bangladesh or other than Buddhism, you are free to ask. If you're shy to ask, you can write in the chat box, and then we will help you to read to Venerable. You can write in Chinese, and we will try to translate it in English.
所以我们是还有一点时间允许的，所以大众可以向法师请益一两个问题，大家可以通过 chat 留言提出您的问题，甚至可以写在 whiteboard 上你的问题。所以大家有没有想要飞啦？刚好这个时间讲到出国旅游，我们又好像有一点希望可以出国了。所以大家有没有想刚才师父提到的那种 Angkor Wat 啦、Borobudur，甚至去 Bangladesh， 有人想要去吗？哇 ，Great sharing！ Thank you, Dr. Ganabodhi 法师。Venerable, I have a question.
Sister Wai Ching, you are saying something?
Yeah, can I bring up a question?
Yeah.
For Venerable. So Venerable, in your last slide, you mentioned that the Pala dynasty was actually considered the golden period of Buddhism, right? So if we are looking back to the history, is there any one things that we can learn from the history, and what would be the one thing that for the Buddhists today that we can actually do so that we will be able to restore it back to that golden moment of that period of time? If there's one thing that we can learn from the history, what would that be?
Okay, thank you for the question. What we can see is that there were great supporters for the Buddhist studies and practices. There were so many kings, lay supporters, I mean, and also because of their support, a lot of great, Buddhist viharas and study center have been built. So they are not just focusing on studies, of course, study and practice, and also all kinds of, religious ceremonies and everything. Now, if I have to say, I would say that, for example, our respected Venerable Shifu has, created this college. So this is one example of such case that where if you can build such learning centers and center for practices, then I think there would be many people who can study the Dhamma properly and then carry out their practice. So this is something I think we can learn. And also I must say that this kind of events nowadays, because of this COVID situation, we have to do it online. So even this is very inspiring. We are all meeting together in this online platform, sharing the Dhamma. So this is how also we can get inspired by one another. So we have to have great supporters. We have to have committed people to carry out the practice. And of course we have to, after studying and learning, we have to continue the legacy. We have to share our teachings to other people. That is what I think. I feel that is what we can learn.
Thank you, Venerable.
Venerable, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah. Venerable, just now you mentioned about, from your presentation, you specially mentioned about this Bangladesh as a land for Mahayana Buddhism and also Tantric Buddhism. So are these two traditions still surviving well in Bangladesh?
Not really. We have ruins, and I don't think we have enough text or people expert in these practices. In the 19th century, in the middle of 19th century, Buddhism was revived in Bengal. So that is Theravada form of Buddhism, especially from Myanmar and Sri Lanka. So there were masters who came from Myanmar and Sri Lanka. They have introduced this new form of Buddhism. So I think if you ask any common Buddhist people now, they cannot, I mean, some of them would be surprised that Bangladesh was a center for Tantric and Mahayana Buddhism. Yeah, yeah. Now it is not practiced.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Venerable, since now, I mean, in Bangladesh, there's less than 1% of population is Buddhist. So you celebrate Vesak Day in Bangladesh?
Yes, we celebrate Vesak Day and Pavarana, Katina.
Openly,
Everything
you mean the government allows the ceremony to public?
Yes, actually the government is in a way quite liberal. So the government allows all faiths to celebrate their, celebrations and ceremonies.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Venerable, actually last Friday, there's this violence happening in Bangladesh, isn't it? Between Muslim and Hindus. So does it, I mean, did involve Buddhists before, not this kind of violence in Bangladesh?
Sometimes it happens, and actually, I mean, this kind of event can take place anywhere, because there are people who like to create problem. So I think these are everywhere. So, but generally the situation is okay,
Okay.
But of course there is always a possibility of having some kind of conflict and disruption.
Okay, thank you, Venerable. 那我们还剩一个问题吧，时间差不多。有一个还有人要问吗？
Okay, this is Gayen. Venerable, what do you see about the Bangladesh Buddhism in Bangladesh for the future?
For the future, now recently the entire Pali Tipitaka has been translated into Bengali. Just recently, I think it is completed, and the publishing house, the publication society, they are distributing the entire set of Tipitaka to different temples and different villages. So I see that there are young people, in the Buddhist community who are devoted to Buddhist study and practice, and there are monks going out, to get their Buddhist education like us, So, and some of them have been translating, even as Brother E. Long said, is there any Mahayana practices and so on. Some of them have been, translating some of this text, studying this text and trying to translate into Bengali as well. There is a good future for Buddhist studies and practices, but of course we do not have specific, center for Buddhist studies yet. So probably in future there will be some.
Thank you, Venerable.
好吧，谢谢 Dr. Gana Bodhi 法师为我们介绍了孟加拉佛教的历史，介绍佛教大师及圣地。在今晚共修会圆满结束前，我们请 Dr. Gana Bodhi 法师带领大家做回向。
Okay, we would like to thank Venerable giving us a wonderful Dharma teaching this evening. It's amazing to learn the history